Welcome to another episode of our Day in the Life with an OBM. We have the lovely Nina Reich, all the way from South Africa, one of our accredited OBMs. And I'm so keen on interviewing you, Nina, because we're almost in the same neck of the woods. We've been working together for quite a bit of time, and it has been an absolute pleasure really to see you blossom and just evolve as an entrepreneur inside of our community of OBMs. And it's really great to have you on here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. It's amazing. It's been an amazing journey. Thank you.
Yeah, it has been an incredible journey. And I would love for you to share, just at the top of the interview here, a little bit about how you particularly found the online space and what you were doing before you came into this.
All right. So I was working, I was actually a contract for a SaaS or ad tech company based in Europe. So I was already working online remotely because I was the only member of the team for most of that time in South Africa. I was traveling a fair amount. So I was traveling to Johannesburg for meetings and then the occasional trip to Europe as well. But I was largely remote. And it was a role that was very much, I had so flexibility as long as I was getting work done, delivering results, I could. Yeah, I did my shopping in the day. I really.
That's pretty cushy.
I had freedom. Yeah,
cushy, Nina.
Yeah. So it wasn't a complete jolt to coming to this world from like a corporate of having to go into an office every day. But how I discovered sort of the online or OBM world was that contract came to an end. And I kind of was like, well, what next? Because I really didn't want to go back to being in a corporate environment. When I was speaking to recruiters and my network and putting my name out there again, I'd very much been pigeonholed into one role and I wasn't enjoying it anyway. And I really wanted to branch out. And then when I was interviewed, I think I really, my heart wasn't in it. And,
oh, wow.
and I think, companies and businesses I was interviewing with could really tell because I was asking questions like, are you fully remote or is it hybrid? And that to me was more important than actually the role itself. And I think that really came across. And I gave it like a long hard thought. And I thought, I think this is time. I need to break out and I need to work for myself. But I really didn't know what that would look like. Or, I knew I had kind of all these skills and background, but I really didn't know what I could contribute in kind of like a consulting role. So initially I started out because I've got a lot of background in marketing and media and that space. And I started out as a sort of marketing consultant. And picked up my first client, doing their marketing strategy and implementing that. And
so fresh out of the gate.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurial spirit, driving high. You're just gonna go and seize it.
Yeah.
You make it sound so easy, but in reality,
yeah. I mean, I did.
First client, you didn't have a website. You didn't have.
No.
So what did
I didn't have anything. So it was at that point, a friend of mine said. I went and had lunch with her and I knew that she was working at ad agencies and just thought, let's connect, have lunch. And I was like, what are you up to? She said, you know what? I'm by myself working to become an online business manager. And I said, well, what's that? Which said, join OBM Week. And she introduced me. She sent me on Facebook. She added me to the group and everything. And Sarah and again, and I joined OBM Week. And actually, the first time around, I was like, okay, this is great. This taps into everything that I enjoyed because I liked sort of thinking strategically about a business, putting strategy in place. And I liked being in the back end as well. Yeah. I also like client facing. I like dealing with clients. So it really taps into all of those areas, I think, where my strengths are and stuff I like doing. So I thought, no, this is amazing. So I did OBM Week, but then I didn't really pursue it so much. I kind of started my website and I think the marketing thing, I was kind of like a foot in both worlds, so to speak.
Growing pains, yes.
Yeah. And then I think also that role became more operation as well. There was a lot with the business that needed to be sorted out, like the team and stuff like that. So it had sort of naturally evolved to being more than just a marketing role.
Or it naturally evolved to being an OBM, sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. And I was also like, because the business owner was overseas a lot. He was in the States. And I was like, you know what, you need SOPs. You need to do this. You need like new systems and stuff like that. And I will help you do this. So it really like, that's kind of where it evolved. So then I did OBM week again. And I was like, okay, I need to lean into this fully. I did the accelerator course and really enjoyed it. And it just gave me like a hint of what to expect with the accreditation program. And then that was it. I was like 100% committed, all in. I'm going for it.
Love that.
That's how the journey started.
It's been such a pleasure working with you because so often I meet entrepreneurs such as yourself that are so like kindred spirits to myself in that, we have all of these incredible skills. And I love that you were able to recognize that you had that consultancy and you had that strategy, because unfortunately, I think a lot of OBMs and a lot of entrepreneurs to be really cut themselves short and don't give themselves the ability to actually bloom into an entrepreneur. And so kudos to you, Nina, for like giving yourself that opportunity. Is there something that you could say to our listeners or people watching us on YouTube today who are thinking to themselves, wow, like Nina makes it look so easy. What was it? Or is there something that I should be thinking about or be doing to make that leap? Because it's not that easy to be like, oh, I'm leaving the corporate job and
it's not
here.
It's not. And I think that, I'm not going to lie, there's been moments I think, it'd be easier if I just, but then it wouldn't also be easier, because I think the life you lead and that you create for yourself is so much more than I felt I had with being in a corporate environment. Being an entrepreneur isn't easy by any means. It doesn't, you looking for client, all of that daily, like
the highs are high, the lows are low, and it's hardly in between.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like a grind. Like, it's like a labor of love. So it feels hard, but at the same time doesn't. And I think about it a lot because it's like, how can I explain this? But it really doesn't. Like every day, I'm excited to get to my laptop, and because it's also on my own terms, it's not on someone else's terms. And I think that for me is massive.
It's on my own terms, not on someone else's terms.
Yeah.
That was beautiful, Nina. And for those of you listening, there's never going to be, let me say, some clear feeling within yourself that's like, oh, now is the time. Or because I remember even in my own entrepreneurial journeys as, people who live in this neck of the woods, you're in South Africa, I'm in Israel. I think that me coming here from Canada really made me realize that I have to be resourceful. And I have to do a lot of these things for myself. And it felt so counterintuitive. And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs to be don't realize, is that there's not going to be like this, like, where like the sky opens and suddenly, the elves and fairies are singing, you're an entrepreneur. Like it doesn't happen.
No.
It feels painful and nauseating, right? Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think when you tell the story of how it happened, it does sound very easy, but it also happened over a period of time. There was a few months where I wasn't working, or, there was, there was difficult times for sure, but, I look back and I also was like, this whole time when I made that decision, as I said, there are times that I thought maybe I should do it, but they were so fleeting. And as soon as that idea popped into my head, I was like, what am I thinking? Because I've always been convinced that this is the right path for me and it's going to work.
Yes.
And
the confidence was there to begin with.
Yeah. And that conviction is what keeps you going and keeps you like working towards those goals and making them happen. It's that absolute belief that it's going to happen for you one way or another, and that you're going to make it happen.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. And I think that that's such an important part. It's sort of like this, you have faith that it will all work out. And I think like generally to be positive and, have that foresight that things will work out in your best interest, I think is such an important way and mindset as an entrepreneur. So that just ability to withstand the highs and the lows and everything in between.
It's not a blind faith. It's like faith in yourself, actually.
Yes,
and I tell you, one big thing is like, I think about, because also now the hybrid, there was the remote work and hybrid, and now a lot of companies are saying, no, we want you back full time, which is so short-sighted. I just think, here, and I know in a lot of other places, traffic. That's the one thing that used to really get me down, because it would be a good hour and a half, 2 hours out of my day of wasted time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I,
And I don't have that like extra time, and
yeah, I think,
I
are we
don't feel
the
like
same person? Are we
yeah,
the
I
same
know.
person?
It's
Because
such a waste of
I had the
time.
45-minute commute and I there and then 45 minutes back.
Mm,
And I was like, this is like, and back in the day when I was in corporate, there was no work from home. Like that was like out of the
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I had to go
Same.
into work and it really sucked. So it's sort of like making that list of things that really are not great about corporate that kind of help to motivate you to
Yeah.
stay on track. Because as we're saying, I'm never going to sit here and say being an entrepreneur is easy or
No.
it's a lot of mindset. It's a lot of believing in yourself. It's a lot of having that support system. And of course, community. I think it was so magical that you had a friend that, because it's crazy to me, because I would say that 1 or 2 out of every 10 students that come into OBM school tell me that my client or a friend told me that I would make a really good OBM. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, it's so remarkable to me because back in the day, people A, didn't know what an OBM was, but B, that people are recognizing in you that you have this skill set and it's such a unique kind of position, the online
Yeah.
manager role.
We both actually at different times worked for the same advertising agency in the same roles, interestingly, because I was, I don't know if I could do that. And she said, you've done this. Of course, that's what it is. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
it's managing clients, project managers, all of that. It's working with teams. It's like a whole,
Mhm.
and more. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I just
Yeah.
find that when somebody tells you that you could aspire to be something amazing like this, it just gives people such a boost. They come in, guns blazing, ready to hit the ground running. And it's a real beautiful thing to see because we need good OBMs in this space. We need people
Yeah.
that can lead and strategize and manage and help the teams propel along and all that good stuff. And I know that every OBM is unique, Nina, and I would love for you to share with our community, what are the types of things that you particularly do with clients in the OBM space? Maybe you can tell us even a little bit about your clients without being too getting too into it and sharing all the details. Right? We want to keep it confidential.
Well, yeah, obviously I follow the principles from, accreditation, but I've also found that they're a really good foundation to have. So, obviously strategy sessions and all of that. But I've also learned that, with some clients, you need to be a little bit fluid and you kind of evolve to working together where it's, there's like a bit of give and take that you're guiding them down. Because also that's in my personality. I'm not going to we need to do this and be very rigid. It's like, keep pushing gently convincing.
Yeah. And I think that
Yeah.
I will add in here that I think it's a wonderful thing because in the small businesses that we work with as OBMs, there's room to pivot. So there's that's like expected. Like it's like a superhero power in a way that you can be like that.
So it's, and I have to say, like one thing, because I've always been intimidated by, especially, in corporates, you see like senior management or I don't know, C-suite execs, whatever, and you think it's a two-way street. Sometimes you think, how did they get there? They're absolutely useless. But then also you can be really intimidated by them. And I think in the beginning, like working with entrepreneurs and one level, I was quite intimidating. But then when you get into them running their business, they really are all over the place. And on that kind of level, like, they have their zone of genius, as it's called. Other parts of their business, it's kind of like, I think that was like, having that confidence to be the authority in those areas. It's taken a little while.
Like that big old container that holds all of their visionary hot mess in one piece.
So that's surprised me, but also given me a lot of confidence in terms of how I work with clients and how, I mean, I think no two clients will ever be the same. I think you have your working style and they have their working style, and it's finding a way where you kind of have that gel together. And it takes a little while to get there. I would say like 6 months before. I would say, that first 3 months is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then you kind of start, and then like 3 months, after 6 months, you start getting that really great rhythm. And
you have like the trust is there.
And you can intuitively know what they want or like put forward things before, they even know what they want, all of that kind of stuff. I would say I'm definitely like more of a big picture. I've always been like that, like big picture, like details. Like I'll get into, but I like the big picture strategy and like working on the vision and what needs to be done to achieve that. The detail of actually getting it done, I'll do it, but it's not my favorite part, I will admit.
Right. Yeah. And I think
But
that's
I also do love working things out, like when there's a challenge, like if it's a new platform or
critical
something.
problem solving. Yes. And
Yeah, like I'll sit there and work it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And equip the
Thanks,
plan.
ChatGPT as well.
Yeah. Thanks, ChatGPT. Yes. Yes. I know we've known each other for a while. We've been working together for a while. I have seen a significant change in your client roster, but I would love for you to share some of the things that have changed for you. You're not even connected to becoming accredited, because I think becoming accredited was a really natural step for you, but also for a lot of us, it's just sort of part of the journey, you know, like your clients evolved. How has that been for you? How has your roster changed over time?
I mean, from having that first client, which was very much marketing, that evolved into, and even then I always, like, they called me the marketing manager, or, you know, I referred to myself as the marketing manager. Or when
she's like, off with her head, it's the marketing manager.
Yeah.
Off with her head, the marketing manager.
Yeah, so it wasn't even like the OBM then. And I think the accreditation just gave me the confidence to call me, although, you know, it was on my website and everything, but it just like really gave me the confidence, I suppose, to voice it and put it out there. And like, really, and she is my biggest client. It's where my referrals come from.
Oh, really? I like that. Oh, let's talk about this.
Yeah. So it's actually that first client, it's his wife, then she's now my biggest client. So
oh, wow. I love that.
US based. Yeah. It's just been this journey from that first client. She was looking for like a chief of staff, DOO, and then I said, well, you need an OBM.
Fractional, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't at that point have the confidence to pitch myself. And I said, I'll help you find someone, because she was like very much, because it's a CPA, and she was very much like, I need someone with that background. And okay, I get there's a lot of processes and stuff like that maybe, you know, I don't have experience with. And I was actually I was emailing Tovi. She said, why don't you
Tovi's our OBM. Yeah.
And I was like, I thought about it the weekend. I was like, why don't I? And I did. And she was like, yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, just
for you. Because there's something a very important point that Nina's making here. And that is, you have to secure good clients, because good clients that need OBMs refer you to other clients that need OBMs. And then you get a lot of traction in that way, and your business continues to grow. I mean, even better when it's a husband that recommends your services to his wife, because that means that you really are amazing at what you do, Nina.
Yeah. And I think your strongest source of clients is always going to be referrals.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, almost half your job is done because they've
my God, 100,000,000%.
Yeah.
They come on the discovery call and they're like one foot in the door, or they're ready. They already have in their mind thought about what it's going to be like to work with you. So yes.
Yeah.
And also too, you know, even with our OBM school directory and, you know, all the things that we do to help bring the clients to the students, there's nothing better than word of mouth when the right clients are spreading your good word. So I think that's great. That's such an important piece. So the clients have changed, your role has evolved. And with that comes other increased things. Like, I know that you and I have talked a lot about team over the years and just growth as an entrepreneur. Like, how does your roster feel now? Are you happy where you're at revenue wise? Like, what does all that look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I was earning pretty well before my corporate job. And I think now I'm at a point where I'm matching that, which is amazing. Next year, I know it'll surpass that for sure. So it's maybe taken me a little longer than I anticipated to get to that point, but it's been fine, considering I'm working a fraction of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really, you know, it's at my pace, and you know, so yeah, taking like it's like some days you're like, oh, you know, I want to just watch shows or whatever, and
I want to binge Netflix and like
and it's like myself. There's a day. It took me a long time to give myself permission to do that.
Oh, yes.
Like, I can just take a day. My clients, if they miss it, it's fine. There's nothing, but if there's nothing urgent that needs to happen, because I'll work weekends quite happily or whatever, you know, that 9 to 5 Monday to Friday structure slowly dissipates. And then you've just got this freedom, which is amazing.
You know, I think when we think about becoming online business managers, as you mentioned, like matching corporate, I think is the goal
That's
for a
right.
lot of
That was
us, right? Like
broken.
nobody sets out to be like, at least the OBMs I know, they're not like, I'm going to be a millionaire overnight and I want to take over the world. It's like, no, we just want some flexibility. We want to be able to plan our own time and plan our own life
Yep.
and like at the very least match what we used to make
Yeah,
or less hours. So I love that
exactly.
you brought up that point because it's not like, money's wonderful. We all need money. We all need
Mm,
to put food on the table, but time freedom.
yeah,
Can we
yeah.
speak to that? Because your husband
Yeah.
is also
He's
has
work
time
from home, works
freedom.
for himself.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what is
yeah.
that like for you guys?
I know it's great. We've just got this very easy kind of, we don't have kids, we've got dogs. So,
Yeah.
we
By the
just
way,
keep
do you
in
hear
the
my
house.
dog barking in the
Yeah.
background?
No, I didn't. Mine's scratching at the door to get
Oh
in.
yeah, he's like and smelling under the door. And my dog's just barking at air
Yeah.
downstairs like he
Yeah.
does.
So, I mean, I think about like, if I was working in corporate, he would be walking the dogs in the morning. He would be doing all of that stuff. And then I'd get home late evening,
Oh,
maybe have time to cook some dinner. And then it's like the quality time, because also he gets, let's get busy in the evenings, and that's when he gets creative and it's when I
yeah.
chill out. But so, if I were working full time in corporate, like we would maybe see each other on weekends properly, like have that. So, our time together is like really easy. We just kind of do our thing during the day. We pass each other in the corridor, we'll have a chat. I'll go and like walk around the garden, and it's summer here now. So, he's out in the garden. He loves gardening. I like being in the garden. I don't like gardening, but anyway. So it's just like this really easy, like fluid, partnership of not working together, but working in the same space, so to speak. I think there's a lot of angst in relationships that we don't have because both of us don't have that stressful, like.
And you're doing what you both want to do.
Exactly.
I know. My husband also has that time freedom as well. And like
Mm.
he's home. My mother's coming on
Yeah.
Wednesday. My mother stays with us all winter long. Five
Uh,
months. 5 months of the year. So my mom is coming on Wednesday. It's Monday. We're recording on a Monday. And my husband's like cleaning out the eaves trough, putting new grout, like changing light bulbs. Like he's like at home. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and he's like doing like all of these things. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's great. I love that we both have that. We worked so hard, both of us to
yeah,
get to that place, but I
exactly.
wouldn't change it for the world. And I think I would
Me
love,
neither.
because I feel like I talk about this all the time, but Nina, I would love for you to sort of, because I know you're a little bit different and every OBM is different, but you're
Yeah.
different in the sense that you came from a remote, like marketing, advertising type role that really transferred over nicely to kind of that conceptualization of what the client is that I think is hard for
Yeah.
people to kind of see. If there's any sort of way that you could maybe give some insight to somebody who's maybe considering this still in a corporate job, maybe they're in a corporate job where they actually see that they have all of these transferable skills, but they're freaked the F out about how that is going to pace itself. Because like you and I are both saying, it wasn't like you got your clients overnight. You got the first client and then, so how does the revenue look? How does getting on your feet as an OBM look? How does that all feel from the perspective of somebody from corporate that's like, I don't even know what this looks like for me?
Yeah. I mean, look, I do think it's going to look different for everyone. And honestly, it is what you make it. Like, I think that you're going to lean into your strengths. And I know that like tech setups and whatever I like to sit and work it out, but it's not my strength. And for example, my project management tool, I know I'm not using it to its fullest potential in terms of, but I get what I need out of it. It helps me track tasks and get things done and track deadlines. It's enough. Yeah, it's enough for me. My goal is I'll have a VA tech who I plan to get all of
Next hire.
that's going to be their baby is like the tech side. But I know what needs to get done. So I think everyone, like what you enjoy doing and where you're naturally good at, like really lean into that. And don't worry because I spent a lot of time worrying about the stuff that I didn't know or that I wasn't good at. And that's okay because we can't be good at it all. And also, I think as well, the one thing that used to worry me a lot is like, who's your ideal client? I don't really know. What's your niche? Who's your other?
I know. It's like,
And I find that's evolving, you know, like you see what other OBMs, and it's like, oh, I'm not going to repeat just like copy, or, you know, I would look
also,
to other OBMs for inspiration, but you've got to, and use that for inspiration. And eventually you will find your own voice and you will find who you are as you go. Yeah, like my ideal client is evolving still. And
yes.
I think, like female entrepreneurs is just sort of coming naturally. I like that space in terms of, because I think the life of an entrepreneur is such a good option for so many women, especially
Yes.
women who have children, which I don't, but I can see that it is, and I think that the flexibility it gives, and also I think it weirdly comes with less risk, which sounds counterintuitive maybe, but
Tell more. Yeah.
yeah. So especially in corporate environments, you are subjective to retrenchments and change, and you're not in control of that. But as an entrepreneur, you are in control. Yeah, sure. It's like finding clients is tough, and but once you reach that tipping point, everything changes. But because you are in control, you decide when you want to stop working or when you want to, it's like your choice, rather than the executive level saying, okay, well, that department needs to go because we're slashing costs, whatever the case may be. So I think your longevity in the workspace and working is far, far longer than if you were in corporate, because I think also like women probably, I hate this term, but I think it is true, maybe age out more than men, which
Yeah.
it's unfair, but it's a reality. So I think for women and being an entrepreneur, I think there's so much opportunity, and I think it's something that women should really be considering. So
It's like, why are they telling us these things? Why are they telling us that the opposite is true?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
It's crazy. But I mean, I love what you're saying, because I think it's so, so important to like talk about what it's like on the other side and talk about this notion of a tipping point, because I also remember when I reached my tipping point and I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay, when's like someone going to pull the carpet out from under me? I was like, oh, nobody's pulling the carpet out. I'm okay.
Yeah. It's like,
And
is this
then,
happening?
yeah, I was like, oh, I'm making this work for myself. And obviously it doesn't happen overnight. For me, it took far too long. I mean, I didn't have a resource like OBM School, and I was kind of really in the dark. And also, technology was very different back then. We were still learning HTML. I'm like, for anyone scared about the tech and getting up to speed with the tech, you've got YouTube tutorials. And for the love of all things holy, all of these SaaS, service as a software platforms, they want you to know how to use their software. They make it so easy for you to like drag and drop. Like I was like,
ClickUp has a whole university, which is amazing. So
yeah, exactly.
So they're all those kind of resources and webinars. I sign up for everything. Like I sign up for all the webinars. I don't often get to watch them, but there's an off chance because you'll always get the replays.
Right.
Yeah, I like because there's always free webinars because they're always wanting to, but just like listen to all the webinars, like just spend your time in, join like Facebook or whatever communities for various tech platforms and follow like the discussions and conversations and questions that are coming up from there, because you'll learn a lot from that.
Yes.
And be part of forums and just kind of, I've learned more in the last 2 years than I think, 5 years of working in a company, because you are only doing that. But in 2 years, like, the learning curve has been like huge.
Yeah. And I think also learning about ourselves as entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And what we like. I mean, it's just, it is really, it's a beautiful thing when you start to feel like, taking a day off.
Yeah.
And just, being able to take care of yourself, or, with me, with my kids, like there's always something hitting the fan. So I have to be available, or my husband has to be available, and having that flexibility. So I think it's really, I love that. I love that, we're giving our audience here the understanding that, it's not an overnight thing. You can do it, prioritize the things that you're really good at, and, within 2 years, you're already making what you made in corporate, and I think even with your client roster, starting with one client, like what's that been like as well? How would you sort of future pace somebody who's considering this? Like, how long is it going to take them? What's going to happen in those 2 years? What is that going to look like for them? Is it going to be 2 years of making no money, 2 years of making some money?
Yeah, I mean, the early days, I wasn't making a mess. I was getting by. I did have quite a cushion of savings that,
you
so
definitely want to be in a good place. Yeah.
Yeah.
With regard to the cushion of savings, I think one of the things that I think is really important here is this notion of savings. And having a cushion. It's like sort of like coming from that. If I could have told myself then what I know now, would you have had more savings? Would you have, how would you have really budgeted? Or do you feel like what you did was just enough to get by and was
I think it was enough to get by. And I had that cushion of savings, and, I've had money to draw on, which when at times that I needed it, which I've been very fortunate for. I'm grateful for as well. Yeah, could I have done having more money? Of course.
Yeah.
I think how long is a piece of string? But sometimes not having this very comfortable, it is the driver. Like, I think maybe that motivation might not have been as strong if I'd had more money to fall back on, if it had been too comfortable, let's put it that way. It's never ever going to be perfect, but would I have had more? Yeah, I would have said, because then I could have invested more here or there. But
right.
I think when my contract ended, I did take a couple of months that I was like half-heartedly jobs.
That, yes.
But I just needed really to, so that covered me for a little bit. But then also, once I did start earning, just also that while what I was earning caught up to my living expenses, I was able to make up that difference. So, So if you can get that cushion, build that up
in place,
I would say it's ideal.
Yeah.
But you also, don't be too comfortable that then you drag.
You still want to be scrappy. You still want to be scrappy. And I think
you do. You have to be very scrappy.
Right.
Yeah.
And, the important thing to mention here would be that starting your OBM career or OBM business is not something that is that costly either, right? Like
no.
With a website.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the beginning, like choose the platforms, they all come with like free trial. Most of them come with free trials. And then I also chose options that, sometimes it's a 7-day free trial. Well, if I really need it, I'm not going to go for that. Right. But you don't, you need your email platform and like a Google Workspace or something like that, project management tool, and then you build from there.
Right. Right.
There are still platforms that I, want to pay for, and you get there eventually. Yeah.
We'll leave our tools, obmschool.com/tools below for our recommended tech stack. But it's not, it's not like a hefty investment to start off.
And things like, your branding. I mean, Canva is
right.
Myself.
And brands evolve. I know we mentioned earlier, you were the Nina Reich brand. Now your Vitality Works. Like, it's like there's these, and same with the ideal client. Like, I mean, it makes me crazy with the ideal client, because I think in this online space, like, you're not even aware of all the clients that are out there. Like, there are clients that I worked with that, 4 or 5 years ago, I would have never been able to kind of even imagine those particular niches and things. So I mean, I always joke that we niche on personality, because I think there's so much to partnering with your client as an OBM, making sure that you really can gel and have a potential continue to grow and evolve.
I mean, what their business is and what they do actually is irrelevant in some ways, unless it's something ethically you don't agree, whatever.
Right.
But I think
values have to be aligned, 100%.
Yeah. So, I think, and you will decide that for yourself, but what they actually do doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I'm working with clients. I never thought I would be working that kind of business, because I don't have a background in that, but they're not looking for you to you.
Because you're working with an accountant, and you don't have
a exactly. I'm not
background. You're not
financial background in any way. Yeah.
Right.
And also like managing the accounting team, I can't, that's not my role, but there's other aspects of it that I'm involved in, and there will be other team members that will fall under me and that kind of thing that do other. I think it's just being open to like what comes your way, really.
Yes.
Like an open mind.
Mhm.
But it's really more of the client personality that you gel with. Like when you meet, you have that. It's like dating someone, is that they're that something that you spark with, that you're like, yeah, I can work with that
It's so
person.
true and also scary. Scary but true. But yeah, I mean, you really have to make sure that like I think we have to listen to our intuition sometimes,
Hmm. Yeah.
especially when it comes to clients. It's funny and true.
And I think it's also, it's something you said, I think you've said it in OBM week, and it's those clients that give you confidence.
Yes.
Because that makes all the difference. I think if there's a client you're like, if it were not to work out or I couldn't execute or deliver for them, that would totally knock my confidence. So I'm very like aware of like when meeting potential clients, are there those red flags that will, at the end of the day, I can't deliver for them, and not through anything of my own fault or doing, but just the situation, which then I know will have a knock on me. But I think it's just good to
Yeah.
have that sort of in your mind when
Mhm.
talking to prospective clients. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really great piece of advice, and we shared a lot of wisdom here today. Yeah, and I thank you because I think it's hard to imagine the OBM role, what the clients are like. And I think that you've given us a glimpse into like what it looks like on your roster, the types of clients that you like working with, and just this really lovely work-life balance that you've created for
Yeah.
yourself. It's just amazing. And
Yeah.
I don't think we pat ourselves on the back enough. So like let's take a second, pat ourselves
Aw.
for the work-life balance. Because that's honestly what it's all about.
That's what our clients are wanting too, as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like just
Yeah.
like-mindedness.
I saw, oh, sorry, one thing I just actually came up in my Instagram, Simon Sinek, he said
Yes.
work-life balance, what it actually means, I think, oh, I wish I could remember it. It's like it's actually about when you feel safe at work and when you
Yeah.
feel safe at home or something like that. And I thought that's it, because like I choose to work longer than I used to before, because I choose that, but I feel secure and I feel safe doing in that space. And I thought that was really, really apt. Yeah.
I do think I like that. I think as we're constantly evolving as entrepreneurs and life throws you different curveballs and you have to deal with certain situations, whether that be a parent that's sick or my mother moving in or whatever. It's just always really nice to be able to adapt and then feel this sense because I felt it this week a lot because I'm going to yoga every morning and I'm feeling really like happy in the entrepreneurial vibe where if I look back to my earlier entrepreneurial years, like there was a lot of angst and feeling like always
Yeah.
feeling like I could do more and there's so much more to do. And
Yes.
I think it's like part of the entrepreneurial drive and the mindset. And I think the evolution is coming to a place where you start to feel peace with
Yeah.
the insanity of everything,
Mhm.
but also like happy. And I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find the Simon Sinek quote
I'll
because
send it to you. I'll send it because that
it's
was
so
just
true. It
really
really,
struck
I
a
mean,
chord.
that's
Yeah.
really what it is because I really
Yeah.
feel safe. Yeah, okay, we have good months and we have bad months, and I can't control life and Facebook ads and all these things. But overall, I'm feeling
Yeah.
really calm, and
Mm.
I feel really, and I have for like the last long while, and it's just
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
true.
And that's the thing. There's always going to be something to do. And don't think
Yeah,
of everything that you have to do. And it's just like, you just tick one thing off at a time.
yeah.
And then
And there's
eventually
always life
be
things
up
that
the mountain.
happen,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. And also if there wasn't always something to do, like, what's the point?
keeps us busy, keeps us
What's the
neurotic.
point in doing it anymore if there's not, you've achieved everything. That's yeah.
Oh, Nina, it has been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure that we have listeners who are
Yeah.
thinking to themselves, I would love to get in touch with Nina. I
Yeah.
need an online business manager on my team. I know you work with European and American clients. You also work with
Yeah.
Australian clients?
I don't. I did go to school in Australia.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the time zone doesn't really work out. So Europe's like an hour or two difference,
Yeah,
US.
yours great.
So there's that crossover in the afternoon. So that actually works out pretty well.
Okay.
Australia, I think the time zone doesn't.
Because
Yeah.
for me, I mean, they're, 5 to 7 hours ahead. I've always
Yeah, is it
funny.
okay? But
It's
possibly,
funny. I
possibly.
mean, it's like here, there, and
Yeah.
everywhere. But I think,
Yeah. I think in my last corporate job, I was having to deal with Australia a bit. And I think it was, yeah, I think setting up calls. I seem to remember, but yeah, anyway, but I'm definitely open to it. I've got the passport.
yeah,
I'm having been to school there.
I love that. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, they head on over to Vitality Works.
VitalityWorksOBM.com.
Great. And we'll leave obviously all that below here so that you guys can get in touch with Nina. Nina, it has been an absolute pleasure
Thank
interviewing
you,
you for our day
Sarah.
in the life and just working with you over the years and continuing to have
And
you.
yeah, you have changed my life. So,
Thank you.
I'm
That means
grateful
a
every
lot to
day. And
me.
being part of the OBM community is just, because we do work at home on our own, although we're dealing with clients and whatever all day, but just being part of that community is just, it's
Peace
really
of
special.
mind. It is
Yeah.
special. Even,
Yeah.
even though we're like behind the scenes, like in our pajamas, don't want to leave,
Mm,
necessarily want to leave the house, but I get it. The community is really key, and you
yeah.
make up such an integral part of our community, and it's just great having you inside of OBM
Thank
school and
you.
interviewing you today. And guys, get in touch with Nina if you're looking for an OBM or if you're interested in learning more about OBM school. We'll also leave those links below. Thank you, Nina. Have a great day,
Thank you,
everyone.
Sarah. You too. Bye.